Thank you again. As you all know, two topics are very important in Afghanistan nowadays: peace talk with the Taliban and presidential election, which we held in 28th of September. So, as I said in my speech, we passed our dark days, and now we are in the phase of democracy. So still we have lots of challenges in terms of security, in terms of corruption, in terms of good governance, in terms of women's rights, in different spheres. But the government of Afghanistan, as I'm talking behalf of the government of Afghanistan, will try our best, and we are committed to actually have a fair election. And also regarding peace talk, the Afghanistan governments actually should be, in the peace talk. They should be involved in peace talk, and Taliban should come to the government of Afghanistan. If means they are going to talk with different delegations in different places, I think it doesn't work without the government of Afghanistan. So the government of Afghanistan should be in the heart of the peace process. And personally, my opinion, if I account myself as a new generation, so I tell a little bit about my personal life, and then I hand over the talk to someone else. I actually immigrated myself to London in 2000, and I became a refugee, and I stayed there. And then I got my British citizen, and then I studied or worked there. And in 2012, I feel and I actually decided with myself to go back to Afghanistan, to work there, to do something for the country and for my people. And there is, you cannot see means any advantages or any special things that means I achieved I going to achieve in Afghanistan. Means if I worked in London, means might be I had better life, and in terms of safety and security, it is more better, 100% better than Afghanistan. But I went back to Afghanistan. I started to work there as a general manager for a TV station. And I, from zero ground, I built that TV station. It owned by someone else, but I was the general manager of that TV station. And I recruit about 250 people, including women and men. And then after 3 years, I started, after the formation of National Unity Government, I went to the Education University. I started my work as a chief of staff in the Education Ministry for 1.5 years. And due to some issues, then I resigned in the Education Ministry. I come here, worked since November 2016 as a deputy ambassador or minister consular. So since October, then when our ambassador, the previous ambassador, Professor Jalali, resigned, then I became in charge. Until now, I'm responsible for the embassy. So I'm very positive, and means the new generation, as I said before, they are confident and they are willing to work, and we are actually standing. And personally, myself, I believe I speak with thousands young people in Afghanistan during my work in Education Ministry, and also in when I was the general manager of a TV station. So all are committed to stand and fight against terrorism, and to actually free our society from terrorist groups, and to actually work for our future and for our people. Now I have to hand over to others, and then if there is any question, we can talk.
Thank you so much.
They can hear you.
Okay. For the brief information, and just not to take more your time about my my childhood from that time, because I just came to the point that in Afghanistan we see lots of challenges. Like you know that Afghanistan currently faced with the security challenges, like other with the neighbors also we have lots of challenges regarding our water in other things. Currently we are struggling to find solution for these things, like currently President Ashraf Ghani established Chabahar port. This is very great initiative of his. That during his era we found solution for to connect Afghanistan with other countries and find solution for the export of our goods to other countries in find way for the good betterment of Afghanistan. And also we before we rely on the international support, like 78% of our budget was supported by the international community. Currently it decreased up to 2018, it decreased up to 51%. This very achievement we can say for Afghan government. And also in the education level, in the health, in some lots of sector we have more successes during this 5 years. And we will go for in the depth of the issue, and I will turn out to my friends to talk about it. And sorry, I'm Ajmal Sultani. Before Mr. Mark already introduced us, therefore I don't want to bother.
Thank you very much. I'm Ali. Simply, you can call me Ali. I really appreciate the efforts made by the ICD, providing a very comprehensive topic discussing about Afghanistan. And I really appreciate the remarks of Mr. Ambassador. It was very comprehensive. I really like the topic chosen here is We Are Afghanistan. It means that apart from the international communities, the West, the East, the government, it is the people of the Afghanistan who are, by the end of the day, will suffer from any bad decision, any bad situation, or will have a good life of doing things right. I really appreciate the efforts made by the international communities for the Afghanistan. But I want to add one point, that it is not the time for the international communities, especially the West, including the United States, to leave Afghanistan. It is the time to review Afghanistan again. What was did right and what was did wrong, and how we can create a more efficient and effective plan for the future of Afghanistan. Afghanistan's 18 years ago from now, there was a very dark time when Taliban was ruling Afghanistan. I spent my lifetime, 5 years of the Taliban time, I spent under their ruling. I was there, and I'm one of the example that apart from other problems and difficulties we had with our life, was that I was not, and I didn't have the right or the choice to make that how I want to cut my hair. It was the Taliban who were making decision for the people. And I remember the time that my sisters, they were not allowed to go out to get education, even go to the mosque. They should stay at home, and my mother was helping them and giving them educations. And I remember the time that when I was going to school, the building was completely destroyed. It was collapsed. There was no chair in the classroom. There was only half destroyed blackboard, and there were only a few students. And I have to wear a turban. This was the Taliban time. So this is what the people of Afghanistan is right now concerned about the future of Afghanistan. We don't know what's going on the peace talks, whether it's led by the United States and the West, or it's led by the East or the Russians. This is the people of Afghanistan. I work as a civil society activist back in Afghanistan. I've met a huge number of young people from across Afghanistan, from different provinces. I traveled, I provided them capacity building programs. And the people, and the groups, the women, they're all concerned about that. My lifetime is that I work with the United Nations military special forces for 3 years as interpreter. And I served with the military, with the United Nations Army on the front line of battle between Taliban and the United States.
Excuse me, the UN doesn't have an army.
I mean United States Army. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, US. US Special Force. And I work with the European Union Special Representative Office. I know Michael Sample will have a topic here tomorrow. He was my supervisor when I was working there. I work with the United Nations, UNAMA. Maybe you heard the name, and everybody know that. I'm currently working as a civil society activist in Afghanistan. But what we want as we are Afghanistan, I mean the people of Afghanistan, is it's not the time for the international communities in the West and the United States to leave Afghanistan. It's the time to review what went wrong and what went right, so that we should have another plan for the betterment of Afghanistan. I walked in the streets of Berlin in the morning, like 2 days ago. I found the people are so relaxed. They have peace of mind. They are not wary of, but if you go from this part of the world to Afghanistan, the people are not as relaxed as you have. They are worried about an explosion might happen. Somebody will stop you during the night and take your phones. There are still a lot of things to do for the people of Afghanistan. And I'm really happy to receive questions. Sorry for taking too much time.
Thank you so much. My name is Abdulqader. I'm doing my master's in ICT. In ICT.
Microphone if you use it.
My name is Abdulqader. I'm doing my master's in ICT. So I want to thank to ICT that they hold this conference in here about Afghanistan. As you know, Afghanistan is a strategic location and also landlocked country with a 5,000 years story. We are experiencing war since 1979 in Afghanistan. That Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, and after that Taliban regime came in Afghanistan, and now it's going on. War is going on in Afghanistan. So we hope that Afghanistan will rebuild again by international community and the people of Afghanistan. And we are youth of Afghanistan, that we hope that we make Afghanistan with international community. So, okay, if you have.
Thank you. My name is Said Habib. I have come to Berlin. It's 2 or 3 days, and what I seen here is peace and relaxation, and I am very happy to be among you, and I am thankful that you have prepared such conference for Afghanistan. And as thank you very much from the participant and from the Mr. Ambassador and professors that they are here. I want to say that everything that my countrymates say, that is one thing that have been passed, and we have go through very bad times. Everybody knows that, and we are thankful from the other countries that they helped us, and they came to Afghanistan and they fought for us from the forces of United Nations or NATO forces. And what I want to say is that we, young generation, we are seeing that the Afghanistan will be better. It will be good. Why? Because we see the changes that is happening. We know that lots of money has been expended in Afghanistan, but I want to say it's not wasted. It will be better. We believe on that. We know it. We know that we will come together, and we will make a very peaceful and a very proudful country for ourselves. Thank you very much.
So now I'll open the floor to any questions. If you have a question directed at a certain participant, please say so. Otherwise, all of them are free to answer.
lesson is very important to learn what the past and now the present, and I hope the country sooner or later become stable for the election and all. But the question is, for example, these crazy guys who have been making the explosion, is there any people who now lay down maybe, or they change the idea and now want to come back to live normally, you know, for to reintegrate, or is there any for the Afghan government any mobilization or reintegration later on, for example, some program for those who have been brainwashed and in the mountains? So is there any program those who want to change their mind to become a normal citizen and also to participate in construction, or maybe that's my
Thank you. In terms of brainwash, as I said before in my speech, education will help our people to be aware of everything. In areas where schools are closed and people are getting brainwashed, it is so easy because they are disconnected with everything. Yes, from the society, from the internet, from media, from all means of information. So it is easy to brainwash, and they can use that, and it is useful for them to actually brainwash people there and make them ready to do suicide bomb. But what is our government do? We had planned before, and now when the peace talk come, then we said, okay, what should we do in a post-peace deal or agreement, or what should we do if people come and surrender themselves to the government, and leave the fight? We prepare everything for them. The government of Afghanistan will prepare shelter, and also specifically, I should say here, the federal government of Germany, they are closely working with the education ministry to build lots of technical and vocational institute, and they are actually give training to people, to young generation, to young people who are actually graduate from year 12, and also people who are unemployment, specifically from the insurgency groups. And also people who are returning to Afghanistan, immigrants, for instance, from Germany, from other countries who are returning to Afghanistan. And the first priority of the government of Afghanistan is to create jobs for them, because unemployment is a great issue for security too. So that's our plan, but I know there are lots of challenges. And in addition to that, I should say, in next few weeks, in Saudi Arabia, ulama conference will take place. It is trilateral conference. Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Saudi's ulama will get together to actually challenge the narrative of Taliban interpretation about Islam and their fatwa to fight against the government of Afghanistan, which is very important. They can brainwash just through to that fatwa, and specifically when ulama says that. Now they are preparing a conference in Saudi Arabia, and it is actually great that the Pakistan ulama joining to that conference too, and they will actually provide a counter narrative to the Taliban concept.
Would any of the other panelists like to address that?
Yeah, I want to add one point that we should bear this in mind, that Afghan government is not that much self-sufficient or that much stable, or doesn't have that much economy to support itself to survive. Ambassador is here. I'm totally sure that we are so dependent with the international community supports and their donations to Afghanistan. Afghanistan is still not on its own feet to survive. What I heard from one of the speakers from today, that on Africa, they were planning to like, if there are children who are working on the streets, like washing cars and stuff like that, they are so vulnerable for extremist groups to be brainwashed, because they can easily hunt them and they can easily brainwash them and they can easily use them for their own devil purposes. What we can do through the international community support is that we could support them, their families, so that they should not be worried about bringing or supporting their families, and then they can easily attend schools. If you go to if you go to Afghanistan and you ask somebody who's washing a car on the street, a children like 9 years old, 10 years old, 15 years old, that why you don't go to school, and he will tell you that, who will support my family? I know education is free in Afghanistan. Until bachelor, you get a free education. But how about your supports for the family? This is where the international community can play a great role for building Afghanistan and keep Afghanistan to go ahead.
Yeah, I just I want to a little bit add with how to the return those people who are opposite are in the opposition, we call it insurgent, to return to the government and join the government. Yeah, in every province we have peace in reconciliation department. They are easily can join, and every month they have salaries, and also that the department is should be to find job for those people. And therefore, the government of Afghanistan is they are established this department in every province to easily those people are against Afghan government, current Afghan government, or they will join Afghan government and they can find easily their future.
Yes, so one more point I wanted to add is the biggest problem in Afghanistan. I think it leads to the instability and this explosion is also corruption, because when we have corruption in our country, we will not have peace also, because these two things have a very close link to each other. So when we want to create employment, so if still the corruption is there, you cannot find any job because of the corruption. Or someone is so much rich, we have discussed today that millions of dollars have gone to Afghanistan, but still Afghanistan is not peaceful and the people are poor. For example, we have 13 million people in Afghanistan, and if we count this, the donors have helped Afghanistan $13 million. So everybody should be millionaire. But still it's not like that. Why it is like that? Because the money has come to Afghanistan and it goes out from Afghanistan. It is not in Afghanistan. It's because of the corruption. So the best thing to build Afghanistan is at the first point we should do something for the corruption, for the anti-corruption units in Afghanistan. And we have also hope for that, because we in the first, we was on the last, if we see the corruption, we was on the last part. Now we have improved a little bit, and we will improve better, but still this focus should be on the corruption part also, not only for the security.
I do agree with my friend about corruption. Corruption is one of the main reasons in Afghanistan that is very trouble and dangerous for our country, and also the production of heroin in Afghanistan. It's a province and element that the production of heroin is produced by Taliban, and they themselves take the money, the budget of the war, their equipments from the production of heroin. So another case, when someone want to recruit a job in Afghanistan, the relatives has a lot of role in Afghanistan. If I have any relative in government, so he will recruit me in this case. So there's a lot of problems that they all belong to corruption. So we should eliminate corruption from Afghanistan.
Great, we'll take another question.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about heroin is a big problem. And I would like to know your opinion on what is the government and also the civil society stances, the organizations that you serve, on this issue. Because as we've seen in the previous presentation, it is quite debatable, the solutions that can be installed, and it is a big problem because it does bring financial revenues to the Taliban.
Yeah. So now government of Afghanistan, they are now suffering with the international community. They are working on this, that how they eliminate the production of the heroin from Afghanistan, and also they are trying to capture every province of Afghanistan to rule on that. So government of Afghanistan, they are working on this.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, yes.
The main problem with the opiums, where they cultivate the opiums and stuff, is the places where it's a hard conflict is going on. As our previous speaker through the Skype said, that the British Army, through the PRT, Provincial Reconstruction Team, they were chosen to go to Helmand. Helmand is one of the biggest, if I'm not wrong, biggest producer of the opium in Afghanistan, where the anti-government insurgents like Taliban, including Haqqani and ISIS, everything, is receiving their financial fund from there. The civil society rule is where we can play a good role, is where we could have security. In Helmand, through the 5 years of fight between the British and the Taliban, then American take over from the British, is still the places where they produce the most opiums are controlled by Taliban. And it was very difficult for the government and the NATO and the ISAF to control those areas.
Yes, it is a great financial revenue for the Taliban, but it is few actually things happened. That was in 2008, I think. Yes, there was a console called Senless. I think it is based in Paris, in France. They tried to actually license the poppy cultivations, but it's failed. So then afterwards, the government of Afghanistan with our strategic partners, try to actually give or provide an alternative to the poppy cultivation, that people should not actually, motivate to continue the production of poppy field. What we did, that replaced by saffron. Yes, in the areas, most areas, specifically in Iraq now, it's very famous. Our saffron product is very famous. So most places are replaced by saffron, but still the areas were controlled by Taliban or controlling by the Taliban. It still means they produce, poppy, and definitely the government cannot control that area. But this is our strategy to fight against, poppy cultivation till we can, if means there is a possibility. Otherwise, we cannot. You know that.
Yes.
Thank you guys for being here, and thank you for hosting this on Afghanistan, because for me Afghanistan was a country I never really understood. Like we got the information from the internet or from the television, which often are sometimes fake news. You should never believe anything you see on the internet or everything you see on the on media in general. And currently we are in the institution for cultural diplomacy, and we've understood Afghanistan, I think, because we started like understanding of Afghanistan. We started the day with understanding Afghanistan, the whole process, and so we've been analyzing the whole day. So now my question to you, you are the future generation of Afghanistan. You also say that. So my question to you right now is, how can you implement cultural diplomacy pragmatically? That means, what are the ideas? Like, how can you really use it for Afghanistan to create global peace? Because that is what ICD stands for strengthening cultural diplomacy in creating and promoting global peace. Thank you.
Well, if I go first, there are a lot of potentials for cultural diplomacy to invest on in Afghanistan. Like sports is one of those cultural diplomacy that can help us to build the unity or among the nations. Like our cricket team is currently attending the cricket world match in London or UK right now, is that all the Afghans are supporting that and all the Afghans are happy with that. The civil society organizations, if they receive that much investment and supports through the government and through the international NGOs, I mean, all the NGOs working, they can play a good role between the different groups through their. Afghanistan have a very rich culture, and it's shared among all the different ethnicities. So, sports like civil societies, some of the religious councils or the ulamas, as Mr. Ambassador mentions, these are all the means of cultural diplomacy that could play a good role in bringing peace or stabilizing Afghanistan. That Afghanistan is it should not be anymore a safe haven of terrorists, so that it should be a threat to the world.
Just to add, my friend, that as you know, that Bamyan Buddha is very famous in all the world, and you know that we have lots of tourists for those places to visit the area, and also we change and we'll see the culture, and you know that cuisine, the different kind of dishes of Afghanistan is very fun. Today we'll enjoy it, we hope, and also some culture that we should accept it something, and if we accept it, it will be not make some explain or people like today I come with the typical Afghan culture, because I want to show my culture to everybody that we are no more in the war, and we don't want to war in our country and our culture. This is only wish in the. Also that we need from the international community though. If you see the television, they are in TV, as you mentioned before, they're just selling their news. This is in reality. But if you do the depth of the, before you didn't see any student from Afghanistan like in European country. Today only in ICD we have about above 20 students currently we have. This is how to our we want that we share our culture and also to show our culture to other people. Thank you.
Yes, one more thing I want to add is that the diplomacy is very important for the future of Afghanistan. Why? Because when you are in Afghanistan and you don't know, for example, you was not aware that how is Afghanistan, I was also not aware that how is your country or other countries. So when we have diplomacy, especially cultural diplomacy, we will come to know each other. So now those people who are not aware of outside Afghanistan, especially Western countries, who they will think like that maybe this everything what's happening inside Afghanistan, it's a thing that is created by the West, or they will think like that because they don't have information, they don't have education, they don't know the so when you have a good diplomacy and culture, you will have a diplomacy with other countries, and you will go to your country and introduce other countries, and then we will have to improve our country. I think it will help very much.
I want to just add a specific example of these issues. Before 4 years, if I'm not wrong, because my colleague is here, our RAC, especially Afghan Iraq, exported by the other country's name. Our other Zafra, Saifun, as Mr. Ambassador mentioned about that, exported to other countries by their name. Our dry fruits is very famous. They exported to other countries, European countries especially, by other names. And also our fresh fruit. They are very famous in Afghanistan, but they are exported to other countries by their name, by their title. This is in hope this new government, unity government, they solve this issue. And currently we have about, and everywhere we export our goods by our Afghan name. This is very good initiative. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. Actually, of course, cultural diplomacy has a very great role in a country, and especially among the countries. So it's the time that we should use from the soft power, because we are witnessing in Afghanistan that every time the Taliban and other militant, they use from hard power. So I want to tell you that I was in India and I was studying there. One day one of Indian asked me that, where are you from? I told him I am from Afghanistan, and he directly said Osama bin Laden. So now and everywhere that I say I am from Afghanistan, they say Rashid Khan, the cricket player that is now very famous. So it's a great proud for every Afghan people that we have our players nowadays. We have a great culture nowadays. So.
Let's take 2 more questions. And then
No, I have to say something, then you have to take questions. Yes, it is about the exchanging information. It is very important that Afghanistan has been a civilized country, and if you go back to 1970s, we have the same style of life of Western countries. Yes, we had universities, and women's and men gone together to universities. Yes, the same as we are here. And as I said, the 4 decades war destroyed our infrastructure. And with the losing infrastructure and involving in war, means money war, Soviet Union invasion, and then when Mujahideen come to the power, then civil war started, and then Taliban come, and since they fall and they went. So we lost everything. We lost connection with the world, and it was our door was closed to everyone. So now just we have 260,000 Afghans here in Germany, like more than 100,000 in the United Kingdom. Yes, and personally myself, I'm from a very poor family. Yes, might be if means I didn't travel or didn't immigrate to London. I never educated, to London. So most people, the same as me, they are in United States, they're in European countries, in Germany, in United Kingdom, in different places. Means I know lots of them, specifically in the United Kingdom. They are actually graduated, and they got PhD now. They are assistant lecturer in the university. They are working in the parliament, The lobby and the exchange of information and cultural diplomacy start from there. Specifically within the embassy, we have, we are not United States, we are not Great Britain. We have limited, budget for our embassy. We cannot actually run the strategy that we imagine with ourselves, but we try our best to do something, to arrange conferences, invite people from universities, from different places, to show, actually, to present the changes in Afghanistan. What Afghanistan was in 1970s, before the war, before the invasion of Soviet Union, and what's happened during the war, and what's happening now, specifically in the past 18 years. Yes, we received lots of funds, but as I said in my speech, there was less than actually 500 students in schools. All the schools were closed. Now there are 16,000 schools. I'm not going to talk about the quality. It is the quantity at the moment. But the quality is something else. We should actually improve and enhance the system. So with fighting with terrorist groups, and rebuilding institutions, rebuilding nations and states, and all these are not an easy job. We cannot do overnight these things. Actually, the culture itself, it's very important. If you become a responsible citizen, it takes time. It takes 20 years, 30 years, at least you become a responsible citizen. To know the values of the city, the responsibilities, and all means values that a citizen should follow. So we try our best. I'm not saying that we are great, we are perfect. No, there are lots of challenges, but we try our best to overcome.
Thank you very much for the amazing discussion. I have one question. What role do you think will women play in developing the economy in Afghanistan in the next 5 to 10 years?
Of course, women is the base of society. So women, what I think, women is intelligent than men. So nowadays in Afghanistan, we have in Parliament of Afghanistan, we have 27 women that they are representing Afghan people from every province.
27%.
27%, from women. We have activists, many activists in Afghanistan, that they are now working in Afghanistan, and also in peace negotiation, peace talk in Moscow. We had the representative also from women. So it's great, proud for all of us that nowadays we have women in our official offices in Afghanistan.
As far as I know and I have information, we have a great bridery, yes. And I'm working with an organization as well here to produce clothes in Afghanistan and sell to Europe market. Yeah, it's in a great quality. So most of women are actually are busy with agriculture in Afghanistan, and specifically in the villages they are working in agriculture field, and also women's in the cities are doing brideries. Including that, we in Mazar-e Sharif there is a market specifically for women. Women are the shopkeepers, the sellers, and they are managing the whole market themselves. So means despite security issues, people get actually active in economic sphere too. They are actually open shops, restaurants. I watch when I was in Canada embassy, there was a woman actually presented a documentary that few women get together, they open restaurant. Few restaurant, not once. 2-3 restaurant in Kabul city, and that runs by women. Like this is example I can say. With all that insecurity and threats, it means they are moving on, and I think in the future they will play a great role in terms of economic growth. Yeah.
Any more panelists want to address that?
Yes, one more thing I was going to add is that now the government of Afghanistan is giving 30% more opportunity to the women than the men. Why? Because during the Taliban regime they have not been educated, they didn't have opportunity, but nowadays the government is also focusing on the woman. And I remember on the earliest days when the Taliban have left from Afghanistan, we didn't have woman driver. We didn't have a woman shopkeeper. Now we have. Even the taxi driver, one taxi driver in Mazar Sharif I've met, she was a woman. So it's there, and they are growing, and maybe more than some other countries, the women's rule is in Afghanistan is getting better and better.
So that in part answered a lot of my question, and congratulations to Afghanistan on the great progress that it's made. My question, moreover, is how, either what steps is Afghanistan taking, or what steps does it plan to implement to get women from agricultural work and shopkeepers to places like the ICD, like you gentlemen are here today? If this is already implemented and in the case, to what percent is that the case?
Well, can I first? There is a policy in Afghanistan that's called positive discrimination. Through positive discrimination policy, the Afghan government is providing or preferring or giving the chance to the women for different sectors. For the scholarships outside Afghanistan, like anybody from India, we have a huge number of Afghan girls and women are studying at the Indian universities right now. That's one of the examples around the world, like through the Fulbright, Chevening scholarships and stuff like that, where it was managed by the government, and the government has a role to play. So there are a number of policies, like we have the elimination of violence against women law, which is recently through a decree from the presidential palace was ratified, and where it provides more opportunities for the women. And because of that, as my friends and my colleagues mentioned about a number of examples, right now we have lots of shops in Kabul where it's not specified for only women, it's for the public. You can, the shopkeepers are women, and restaurants are now are totally owned, or they receive some kind of supports, financial supports from the government, so that they keep their business running. Number of policies and supports are running in Afghanistan now. What I want to, I know it's too long, but I want to make my concluding remarks is that here, all my colleagues, including Mr. Ambassador, we listed a huge number of achievements for Afghan people. What we want is that we don't want to lose these achievements. We don't want to sacrifice these achievements because of some hasty and hidden peace talks, and because of some hasty leaving Afghanistan on its own. Considering all these things have been done, still Afghanistan needs supports from the West, including the United States. As you are, for example, the parents over here are thinking to provide a safe future for their children in Germany, anywhere in Europe, we are also expecting the same thing. I want to provide or to leave a legacy of safe place for my children in Afghanistan. The difference between me and an European man or a person is that I cannot do that on my own because I don't have that resource. That's why I still need supports and considerations and review on Afghanistan.
Yeah, one thing we cannot actually request help and assist for all our, future, but we are working on self-reliance, actually, specifically in terms of regional connectivity and, as I said, transit and trade, to actually be self-reliant and not independent to help and assist of the international community. Yes, we request that from the international community to support us till we achieve our goals together. Then we are working towards self-reliance as well.
My question is, assuming this the international community, and we have now reviewed your proposal and want to now donate the money, but we ask a question, we ask you to choose what security and productivity. So between education, productivity, and security, what would be the cost that you need to invest?
Yes, may I answer the question?
Abdul.
Yes, you said you will invest the money and you want us to.
Yeah, so pick the most
Yeah.
Priority.
I mentioned before the priority in Afghanistan is not security, nothing else except corruption. We will invest the money, or we don't want the money, even we want the corruption to be deleted from Afghanistan. When it is gone, we have resources, we have mines, we have everything inside Afghanistan, but because of corruption we cannot use it, or it is those areas are insecure. The main problem, in my opinion, is the corruption in Afghanistan nowadays. The corruption leads to unemployment, then the security will be deleted, or it will not be there.
The question is mostly about how you effectively and efficiently spend the money.
No, what's the priority?
This is, yeah, sure, it could be that. But then you can choose your priorities, whether it's security, education, wherever, is where you spend, is it so efficient and effective? As the speaker through the Skype mentioned that they spent a lot of money on building schools, building hospitals, but there is no doctor. There is no qualified doctor to provide that kind of, high quality treatment. So it's about how, this is what I say that Afghanistan needs a review, where you can make decisions of how effectively and where to spend the money.
Yes.
I
And
just want to say that about your, that you want to invest in Afghanistan. Currently, we have lots of projects, like in TOPI project. TOPI project will be benefit Afghanistan about $400 million per year. This is a big project. And also we have CASA 1000. In all other projects that electricity transit from Afghanistan to Turkmenistan to Pakistan and India. This is a big project that Afghanistan need help from international community, and also if the international community and other, they want to invest in Afghanistan, this is a big opportunity. And also in our telecommunication in other sectors, we need a lot of money on investors. In some other sectors, we can say about the, as you said that education or security should be not mentioned. This is exactly, but we have lots of places that you can invest. This, we cannot go to the depth of the issue if you check the CASA 1000 and also TOPI project in electricity transit from Turkmenistan to Pakistan and India. This is a big project that benefited Afghanistan like more than $400 million from TOPI, $50 million from the CASA, and $100 million from this other project. And also Saffron is the big project in Afghanistan. Currently we need the investors to introduce Afghan saffron to other world. And also the saffron is a base, like we can say, the use for the medical medicines, for the for the cuisine is very to change the color of everything. This is the things that we need investors.
I agree that millions of head of America and other international community came in Afghanistan, and they're all wasted in Afghanistan. So it was the time of Ahmed Karzai, the former president of Afghanistan. At that time, the warlords, they were in government and they were officials in government. So they robbered all the money, all the budget of the government. So currently, recently, the government of Afghanistan, Ashraf Ghani, is a technocrat. So he is working hard for a good future in Afghanistan. So he spent all the money in projects like my friend mentioned about the CASA project and TOPI. TOPI is the best project among 4 countries. It's Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India that make a great friendship among countries. So we hope for the future, because currently the president is working but unfortunately, many extremists, they are just thinking that remove the president from the presidential palace, that he is working hard. So we hope that we make our country with
So
this
much is it
president.
making?
One more thing I want to add related to this question, that you said that you are going to give me money or you will invest the money and where I should expend. And he was mentioning that during I have been working with the Ministry of Finance and the Supreme Audit Office of Afghanistan during 6 years. And I know when these donors were helping Afghanistan, they was not helping the government. They was, for example, helping in a specified sector by themselves. There was, for example, he mentioned that they were important, or they are bringing the electricity from outside Afghanistan, but it's not fundamental. They should invest it like in some like to be sustainable, not just gone. They have expend their money in their favor, not in a favor of the people, to be sustainable in Afghanistan. They are bringing, for example, this electricity from outside, but we have to pay the money to those countries back. So how we can pay the money? Why they are not? We have the resources. Why they are not making this electricity inside Afghanistan? But this the new government that is going to be ended, the Ghani regime. He, in my opinion, he is focusing on the project that is that's sustainable for Afghanistan. It's better than the previous government. Yes.
From the government perspective, the priorities are actually identified in the national strategic development programs. It is not just one priority. It is different priorities which is linked or interlinked to each other. If you don't have education, people cannot aware, what's going on around them. I mean, specifically women, for instance. If we don't have higher education, then we cannot have a professional. Means profession are very important in institution building. Yes, means to improve your institutions. For instance, judiciary system. Yes. And security is an important issue. It's a critical issue. If you don't have security, then you don't have schools, to be open and people go and educate themselves. We have different priorities, which is actually identified in the national strategic development programs of Afghanistan governments. So we are working towards, all of these, and in the same time parallel. And we hope we achieve, our goal and aim.
So that's all the time we have for questions. I know we're already 45 minutes.
Comment. It is not a question.
Hit us. Go for it.
This is my comment to the director of Institute for Cultural Diplomacy through our Master of Ceremony. In Afghanistan, according to the flag, you have women of participation like 27%. And also from Myanmar, we look up to the African women leaders, and they are like Afghanistan women leader, and they are huge inspiration to us. And my comment here is that please remind the director
Don Freed.
yes, that women participation in politics is not a joke, and every Afghanistan woman should deserve a seat with their colleagues. As the women from the same country with the same scenario of the conflict, I really want to listen to the Afghan women voice.
Afghanistan.
I'm sorry.